Hi there, Mr. Tomlinson here again, and I'm going to read to you the next part of Emma Carroll's Secrets of a Sun King. We just got about halfway through the translation of the scroll, which is about Lysandra and her account of Tutankhamun's last 2 days of his life. Okay, so we'll continue. Dying? Maya interrupts. Yes, this time I believe he is. We make Kaiki as comfortable as we can. Medicines are sent for bowls of cool water brought, but I don't think either will do as much good. The bite on his face, the wound to his leg, both are red and blistering. I remember him last night rubbing his head, shivering. He was falling ill, even then. What happened? I asked Maya. My brother tells me how they'd travelled only a little way when Kaiki asked to stop, the sweat running off him like rivers. He collapsed to the ground, closed his eyes. He didn't get up again. No fruit was thrown, no rodents were hunted. We'd already taken shelter when the sandstorm hit, he explained. All day, Maya and I sit with Kaiki. We try not to cry, try instead to count his slowing breaths and be thankful that he's been in our lives. When evening comes, as we light lamps and burn incense to cleanse the air, Kaiki's breathing changes. His eyelids flutter. He opens his eyes. I'm astounded. He's recovered. He's survived. When I look at Maya, he's laughing and crying at the same time. Are you staying in this life after all? He asks. Kaiki gives a tiny shake of the head. No, but I don't want to leave you both. I'm scared. The afterlife will be wonderful, I tell him, full of all the riches you could wish for. Riches haven't brought me happiness, Kaiki says. All I want is to be with my friends. Then don't die, Maya insists, holding tightly onto Kaiki's hand. What would I be without you? Who will I throw pomegranates at? I can think of a few possibilities, Kaiki says, smiling. He closes his eyes, then a long, sighing breath leaves his chest. I sit silent, waiting for more, but no others follow. It's me who cries now. Maya gently slips his hand from Kaiki's. Safe journey, my friend, he says. I promise you this isn't the end, but a brilliant new beginning. The rituals start the next morning. Though sadness lies thick as smoke over the town. Kaiki's body must be prepared for its glorious final journey, and it's a long, detailed task that will involve many. So often in Kaiki's short life we've come close to this moment. Fevers, accidents, a new limp, a different pain. It's hard to believe his time has finally come. It helps us to be busy. Maya takes a bigger team of workmen back to the tomb site in the valley. They must carve runes from the rock face, paint them, fill them with all the treasures our king needs for his new life. It's work that would normally take years, yet now has to be finished in just 70 days. At the palace, Mother and I are summoned to wash the body. Poor Kaiki is a small, wasted figure, his arms and legs thinner than mine. With its old insect bites and new wounds, his skin looks like a battlefield. He's still warm, Mother comments, as we wash and shave his scalp. It's the fever, I tell her. My hands, though, start shaking as I realise my terrible mistake. My grandfather would never have made the error. He'd have listened to Kaiki's dream, weighing it in his hands, and have noticed the telltale signs of fever. His dreams were confusing, bewildering, but it wasn't an omen, not a strange one. It was mostly nonsense, as fever dreams are. My grandfather would have told Kaiki to go home and take to his bed and rest. No doubt he would have advised an armed guard or two at his bedchamber door, but he'd never have sent him out into the desert, where he thought he'd be safe, when he was hardly well enough to stand. The mistake is mine. I am broken. Other mistakes quickly follow. The tomb is in a difficult place. Fault lines in the rock means it's dangerous to cut deeper into the hillside. Special equipment is needed, more plans, more workers, otherwise the whole mountainside will collapse. I tells Maya to choose another spot. But it has to be here, in this exact place, Maya insists. I've measured the sun. I tells him there's no time for such details. Burial rules state our pharaoh's tomb must be ready in 70 days, so it's no surprise when I takes over the plans. He chooses a new site at the base of the rock face. It's a shadowy, unlikely place for a royal tomb. Maya is furious. This alternative is a very poor second best. My brother wants to grab I by the throat and shake him. It takes all mother's soothing to calm him down. The preparations continue all day and into the next. Early in the morning, I corners me as I cross the courtyard. He reminds me of my duty as a scribe. These are important times, Lysandra, he says. I'm relying on you to keep an account of all that is happening as we move from one king to the next. This last, he says, with a proud tilt of the chin. I'm only glad Maya isn't here to see it. Though my guilt over Kaiki's death is strong, I hide it deeply. I find comfort in being busy, being involved. A priest is called to lead the embalming. I'm relieved it's his knife that cuts into Kaiki's belly. We take the liver, lungs, stomach, intestines that he passes first. Their faint, meaty smell makes me think of a butchered animal. This is no longer the Kaiki I knew, which make it a little easier. Mother and I, with a couple of the healing ladies, pack each organ in salt for drying. The same is done with the gaping hole in Kaiki's torso. All that remains inside is his heart. So this is the mummification process. And if you remember year 4, we've done the same with some tomatoes in year 4, and they are still there, and we'll see when we get back to school if they've been mummified. Okay, we'll continue. The priest is quick but careful. Inserting his hook up Kaiki's nose, it's gruesome this bit, he teases out a grey shape with the look of fish gills. The brain is near complete, enough for Mother to scoop it up in her hands and place it in a basket on the floor. Later we will burn it. Brains have no place in the afterlife. And if you remember from our learning, we learned that the ancient Egyptians didn't realise that the brain was this sort of the computer of the body. They thought it was worthless, so they got rid of it. 40 days pass. 40 soft spring days in which, as the grass plumps and the fruit trees bud, Kaiki's body shrinks away. I becomes our new pharaoh. This is no surprise either. Even Horemheb, who's always had the look of a leader in waiting, makes little fuss. It's Maya who concerns me. His anger is like a flame waiting to catch. Though I confess my mistake about Kaiki's final dream, he refuses to think differently of I. That man has ice where his heart should be, he says. The tomb building is not going well either. The workmen I has hired are lazy and unskilled. Their chisels making a mess of the walls that even last-minute plastering cannot disguise. The rooms are small. There are fewer than befit a royal tomb. When the sarcophagus is lowered in, ropes snap, a man's leg is crushed. The chamber that has been recently dug out is now full of rubble again, which only adds to the work. Night after night, Maya comes home cursing. At the end of the 40 days, we are ready to bind the body. At the palace, Mother and I take the organs from their salt, wrapping each in linen strips and packing them in the canopic jars. When we uncover the body, something is amiss. The priest's knife's wound has reopened. It's red and fresh. I'm startled. Mother Tuts says these things happen not to make a fuss. We'll seal the wound with wax, but Kaiki's left arm has also moved. Though we folded it across the body, it now lies at his side. The centre of his chest looks sunken. When I touch it, it feels hollow, because there's nothing underneath. Mother, I whisper in shock, his heart isn't there. She tuts again, reaches over the body to check it herself. It's no business of ours, Lysandra. It's all she says. Stop poking and pressing. We've work to do. But when she thinks I'm not looking, she takes an amulet, a small one, shaped like the sun, and puts it in the place where his heart should be. We wash the body, then rub it with scented oil. The eyelids and nostrils are plugged with resin-soaked fabric. All the time I'm thinking about Kaiki's heart. Both Mother and I know it's not normal to remove it. A person needs their heart to live on in the afterlife. It's the centre of their being, what makes them who they are. We put sawdust into his empty torso to give it shape. Then, just as Mother said, we seal the wound with wax. With prayers recited and incense burned, this alone is a whole day's work. Even by the end of it, I'm still troubled by the missing heart. Someone close to the king has been meddling, taking what isn't theirs. The next day we begin to wrap the body. We use linen strips around each finger, each toe. Occasionally between layers we stop to say a prayer to Ammon or Osiris, or tuck a lucky amulet between the folds to help Kaiki on his journey. The process is meticulous. It takes days and days, 15 in total. By the end of it, our backs are ready to break, yet Kaiki's form is strong and robust, far more than it ever was in life. With the tomb as ready as it can be, the burial takes place. It's a bright, windy day as we walk the path down into the valley, the sounds of weeping women echoing off the rocks. 70 days have passed, yet my guilt still hurts, and I miss our dear friend like a part of our family has gone. I'm no wiser about the whereabouts of his heart either. All through the ceremony, my brother is sullen, silent. The opening of the mouth ritual is performed by I himself. As he touches the place where Kaiki's mouth is, I glance at Maya. My brother stays quiet. The air all around us is thick with things unsaid. The first and second coffins are glorious and gold. Maybe I has done his godson proud after all. Yet when the final lid is lowered on the sarcophagus, it's clear it won't fit. There's an awkward, embarrassed pause. I start blistering and blaming others. Maya thumps a wall, then storms out. I'm scared they'll go after him, but no one does. They're too concerned with the lid. A workman is called. The outer coffin's feet are too big. Hack them off, I said bluntly. The workman does as he's told, grunting over his saw until a pair of feet land on the floor with a clumsy thud. It makes me wince. The mistake is then hastily covered with stinking resin. It's an ugly business, hardly befitting a dog, never mind a pharaoh. In the tomb itself, the walls are covered with pictures, so crude and rushed the paint is still wet. The ceremony continues. How jarring it is to be asking the gods to guide our pharaoh when a pair of feet sit before us on the ground. Finally, the prayer's over. We file outside. I'm glad to be back in the sun. Next, the tomb is filled with random objects. Chariot wheels, baskets of linen, walking sticks, trumpets, fruit platters, oil jars, flowers tied in bunches. There are shabtis to guard the doors, swords, trunks. Apart from the sticks, I can't imagine Kaiki needing any of this in the afterlife. None of it looks like items he once owned or was attached to. I'm wondering if I has simply cleared out an old back room at the palace and dumped its contents here. High above us on the mountainside, a white-clad figure catches my eye. Someone is up there, scrambling over the rocks. They're heading for the half-dug hole where Kaiki was meant to lie. My mouth goes dry. It's Maya. I'm terrified he's going to jump or throw stones down on us in anger. He does neither. He disappears into the mountain. It's then, like a lock and clicking, that I know what has happened to Kaiki's heart. My brother has taken it, Maya. Without it, our pharaoh is not complete, which means his journey to the afterlife won't be possible. And this is Maya's plan. He knows how Kaiki longed to be an ordinary boy. The day he was made king was the unhappiest of his whole life. His true joy was in his friendships, not in the bitter wrangling of his own family, whose only interest in him was to further their own needs. To continue as a pharaoh in the afterlife would be torture for Kaiki, not a reward. Perhaps this way, with his heart hidden inside the mountain, our dear friend will find some peace at last. Wiping tears, I glance at Ai, fearful he's noticed what's happening above us. But he's still watching over the burial, swimming in his own glory. He thinks he's done well today, shown respect for the godson who in life he treated infernally. He will never read my account of Tutankhamun's last days. When he asks to see it, I'll lie and say it fell into the fire. Meanwhile, if Maya's calculations are correct, then on one treasured winter day, each year the sun will align with Kaiki's mountain resting place. I look at my brother, so thin, so awkward, and these days far too serious, and think of a saying Kaiki's beloved grandmother used to use. The nut doesn't reveal the tree it contains. What it is, I think, is a saying about happiness. A nut that looks so dead and dry, given time, will grow into something lush, green and beautiful. Rest assured, I won't be burning my account in any fire. I'll bury it in the same quiet place where Maya has laid our dearest friend to rest. Then, when my time comes, and Maya's too, we'll join him, and we'll be in the afterlife all together. Right, thanks for reading that part of Emma Carroll's Secrets of a Sun King. We'll move on to the next chapter next time. It's actually moving on to part 4, so the final part of this book, which I hope you've really enjoyed year 4, and it's been a real pleasure to be able to continue it. If you've enjoyed that, don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you next time. Bye!